Welcome in, everybody. Joe Quills here with you. It is Tuesday night. At least I think it's Tuesday. But we're here, and it's another edition of Joe Quills Show, and I'll get into why I said that just now. But coming up on the show, it's Indecision 2025. We're not going to talk about the elections tonight. It is election day, except for Kentucky, from what I found out. Apparently, and I don't know if this is true or somebody just trying to pull your leg. Apparently, in Kentucky, there's no elections today for whatever reason. And I'm not going to ask anything like that, but the one thing is, apparently, people in Kentucky were asking how they can vote in the New York City mayoral election and the gubernatorial race in Virginia. Yeah. I hope that's not true, but considering it's Kentucky, it would not surprise me. But so that's another reason why we don't do politics, is because then you get into situations like that where, is this true? Is this not true? Whatever. I just don't care. But coming up in the show tonight, we're heavy on football tonight. Eagles made 3 trades overall. We'll get to that. I think the last trade was yesterday, but we'll just recap that. Dallas made 2 trades. One of them I have to really laugh at. But then again, it may just be looking at numbers and saying, well, yeah, but. So we'll talk about that. The Jets made 2 trades. Well, the Jets made 2 trades, not the Cowboys. We may have a quarterback controversy in Arizona, or maybe Kyler Murray's injury is worse than we thought. Tom Brady's dog could be the product of cloning, and the Live Tour is no longer playing 54 holes. And are they going to go the way of all the dollar stores and stuff like that? I'll tell you what that means in a minute. But very interesting day today. First day back to work in over a week. As you know, I was on vacation last week, but we were doing a lot of Breeders' Cup stuff last week. So everything worked out perfectly. Told my manager today that, the reason why I took that vacation a year ago and had a floating holiday yesterday was because if I was going to San Diego for the Breeders' Cup, I just wanted that extra day before I got back. And part of the reason why for that is, if I was going to, if I had gone there this year, I probably would have flown home on Sunday so I can have that day off on Monday. But the reason why I would take that Monday off is because, first of all, flying cross country is one thing. The other thing is the fact that when with everything that I've learned through flying, I probably would not do what I did the one time. I let my friends talk me into flying home from Seattle on a Sunday. And when I flew home on Sunday, I had a layover in Nashville. And when I had that layover, it was the flight home was delayed over 2 hours. So you get to sit around and do nothing in Nashville for 2.5 hours. And, I ended up going a little crazy in one of the shops in the airport and stuff like that. But yeah, you got home at 3:00 in the morning, then you got to go to work the next morning. So wasn't a fun day, but I've learned my lesson that, especially when it's in the spring, if I'm going down to Florida, for example, to the Bleacher Brothers World headquarters, I will um, probably do a trip. Probably leave like by the very latest midday because I don't like getting up in the morning, especially when you're out all day on Saturday, like I was in January. And I'm not complaining. It was just like, hey, I suggest this. Okay. Well, actually, it was because the Eagles were playing in the NFC Championship game against Washington this past January. Um, it was all that. So I'm sitting there at work, and our next schedule came out. Well, two things came up. One, I'm thinking, I'm thinking, why am I getting this schedule on Monday instead of Tuesday? And then I'm thinking, SHIT, sorry, honey, it's Tuesday. Um, because stupid me for a little bit thought it was Monday because it was my first day back at work from vacation. But that those things happen every once in a while. But thankfully, wasn't anything bad. Then I requested, or I ended up with Thursday off that week. So it's the last full week before Thanksgiving. So I'm sitting there, and for a second, I'm like, why did I request off Thursday? Because what I usually do is I request the Wednesday before the weekend weekends, and then I work the Tuesday after it. Because the reason why I do that is I try not to work more than 5 days in a row. It's a mental health thing that I try to do. So um, so it's very easy. I just pull up the spreadsheet on the Google Drive, and yeah, I requested what Thursday because I wanted the day off before Thanksgiving. Not that I don't I don't deal too much with my family anymore, but you know get to do some things the day before Thanksgiving. It's also a payday, um, so I ended up getting the days off like I usually do. It's just little goofy little goofy things that were going in my head today. But yeah, I did get the days off I wanted. I realized that yeah, it was Tuesday, so I had schedules there and everything. And the thing is, when they do our schedule, and you know, especially with the way the schedule's made now, I think I said this to the clerk a couple of years ago when we started to get in our schedule 2 weeks in advance as opposed to like the Wednesday before. I said, let me tell you something. Somebody wants to complain about the schedule not being out by the Wednesday 10 days prior to that schedule taking effect. I'm just going to tell them, listen, it's in the contract that the schedule has to be out by 12 noon the Wednesday before, not the Wednesday before the Wednesday before. So if it's running late, I'll just be okay, because technically it's still a week early per the contract. But um, but yeah, so I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes you get these goofy things that happen over time, and that was one of those goofy days today because I was thinking, wait, it's Monday. No, it's Tuesday. But we're also in a week where we're Monday through Friday this week and just Monday to Friday. But I had a floating holiday yesterday, so that's why I had off yesterday. Um, but just one of those weird days that really, you know, messed me up a little bit at the beginning of the day. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I don't know how your day was. Hopefully, it was pretty good. Also, if you're watching, my heat is fixed finally. Now, when I say the heat is fixed, We had my apartment was insanely hot over the last few days, and I wasn't going to take off all my clothes, as Nelly would say. But when you sit there and the thing is, I mean this remote control for the air conditioner has a temperature gauge on it. Now, how accurate it is, I don't know. I don't care. I just use it as a gauge. So, within a couple of degrees, we're fine. Damn thing said 93 degrees over the weekend. Yeah, it was effing hot in here. So I called on Thursday. I called them late after hours, figuring, okay, well, if it's really an emergency, if they determine an emergency, they'll come out that night. I knew they weren't, but I got sidetracked during the day. So I called Monday morning, just to let you know, it's real hot in here. And also, I did call Thursday. Oh, we'll probably be out there today, but we may not be there till tomorrow. Okay. As long as you're telling me you're going to be out here and you know that I'm on the list, and the guy, and we talked about it last night. The guy was the main maintenance guy. At least I think it was him. I mean, I felt bad because it sounded like he was going to have a heart attack on my floor. Trying to get up, be like, but thankfully everything's fine. I'm still wearing shorts around the apartment, but that's because that's the way that I wear it. That's what I usually wear around the house, unless it really starts getting cold, which it should be tomorrow. Well, it'll be really windy tomorrow from what I heard. So, but yeah, so we had a lot of football news today. It was the trade deadline today, and believe it or not, well, first of all, the Eagles made 3 moves over the weekend, over the last week, I should say. The Eagles got Michael Carter II and a 2027 seventh round pick from the Jets for John Mechie III and a 2026 sixth round pick. Then I think Friday, it was, they got Jair Alexander and a 7th round pick for Baltimore Ravens, from the Ravens for a 6th round pick. And then what we woke up to yesterday, Jalen Phillips from Miami Dolphins for a 2026 3rd round pick. And John Clark was there at the airport today, and Big Dom was right there behind him. Like, all right, you talk to him, but just remember, we got to get you to the NovaCare complex and get you aware of the surroundings and stuff like that. So Eagles made 3 moves. They answered the edge rusher situation. They got another cornerback. They got another defensive back here. So they're looking to bolster up the edge rush, which they've done. And then you have Nolan Smith coming back from his tricep in a few weeks. Brandon Graham retired, and the trade of Phillips. So Roseman said of Phillips, he can rush, he can set the edge, he can play in space. He's got a nonstop motor. And also, he loved playing in Vic Fangio's defense in Miami too. So he will fit right in. So when Fangio was in Miami, Jalen Phillips was having a career year before tearing his Achilles. So, and that would probably mean he's about 2 years removed from that. So he should be back to normal, so to speak. I mean, you're never really normal after an injury like that. But it's not yet. It's yet to be seen how Carter and Alexander will fit into a group that's led by Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. But they've failed to solidify a third player in the cornerback puzzle. So Um, I mean, but like some of the other moves that Roseman made even earlier in the year, he acquired Tank Bigsby from um, Jacksonville. He got Sam Howell from Minnesota. Remember, Tanner McKee was hurt at the beginning of the year. They got Fred Johnson. They got Mechie and then flipped him off to the Jets. Um, so he's been busy. And also, he said, Howie Roseman said in a press conference today that A.J. Brown was too important to this team to move him at the trade deadline. I think when you're trying to be a great team, it's hard to trade great players, and A.J. Brown is a great player. Yeah. He also said he wears a C for a reason, C meaning the captain patch. He's an important part of the team of this organization. He cares about winning. He cares about his teammates. And I think when you're on a team like ours that is looking forward to an opportunity to compete for a championship, you just don't get rid of guys like that. So Brown's only averaging 56.4 yards per game this year. And Brown has been a bit of a diva this year, expressing his frustration over the state of the Eagles' offense on multiple occasions. Um, the one thing I would say about that, um, and feel free to chime in as well. Also, even though they've been working on that offense since March, whenever when they first got into the NovaCare complex after the new football year started, um, it takes time, even though I mean, at least this is what I think, even though I never played football, but, a little bit of logic here, and God forbid I use some logic. I think that through all the OTAs and things like that, you can go through the offense he wants to run if there's any glaring differences between that and Kellen Moore's last year. Um, every year is different. On top of that, even if Kellen Moore stayed for another year, and you have to realize that, well, maybe they're really cracking down with 8 men in the box all the time. We got to get to the point where maybe we need to throw the ball a little bit more. And, maybe we're seeing like a little bit of a regression as well with A.J. Brown. But, I mean, even Devontae Smith, from what I understood earlier in the year, at least I think I heard this, he was even frustrated with the offense. But it's how you react to how you're frustrated. Now, if you're frustrated behind the scenes and it doesn't leak out to the media too much, then yeah, I'm okay with that, because in a way it's you care about this team, you want to win another Super Bowl, you want all that stuff. But I think also we're also so far, we remember everything with T.O. in 2005, the 2005 season, how, he wanted a new contract. He was doing sit-ups in his driveway, and he was doing additional things. He was throwing McNabb under the bus, whether it was warranted or not. I'm trying to stay neutral here. But when you look at everything, we're probably never going to see another 2,000-yard season from Saquon Barkley, and that's fine. But this is why you have all the weapons that you do on offense, whether it's Jalen Hurts, Saquon, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. If you want to throw in a third wide receiver, go ahead. Throw in Tank Bigsby or whoever you want to throw in at running back. The fact that you have all these guys, it's kind of like basketball, and you got 5 superstars on the team. and they all score 20, 25 points a game. Well, breaking news, there's only one basketball. And in terms of the NBA and in terms of the NFL, you can only throw the ball in one direction or hand it off to only one guy. So you can't just do anything, well, I'll give you half the football, give you half the football. It doesn't work that way. And there's going to be some days where you're going to be covered, even though A.J. Brown will tell you I'm always open. But I just think that with everything that we see here, we could see a week where A.J. Brown has 13 catches for 203 touchdowns. I don't know. I'm making numbers up, but you get the idea. And there's been a couple of weeks where Devontae Smith has been that guy. And the one thing I've told you guys over the last couple of years, especially when I'm talking about Jalen Hurts, and I'm talking about him to other people, even away from here, I couldn't give a rat's ass if he throws for 100 yards or 300. Kind of like in the end of the KC game. The one chief was Chris Jones, I think it was. He was shit-talking Jalen Hurts. Oh, you barely threw 100 yards. And Jalen Hurts went back and said, we won the fucking game, didn't we? Well, guess what? That's how I feel. And you know what? It may be frustrating as hell, but guess what? You improved a lot of the issues they had on the defensive side with these deals. And if they work, you could be looking at a defense that looks almost like last year's defense. And the one thing I've said over and over again, now whether you believe me or not, that's fine. Sometimes your best defense is a ball control offense. And when you have the ball and your defense is rested and they do the job and it's a 3 and out and your offense goes back out there, and even if they don't score, it's 8, 9, 10 play drive, you're wearing that defense down little by little. Because that's what the Eagles did. Because in the second half, they would just pound you, and next thing you know, Saquon has a 70-yard run for a touchdown. So they know what they need. They knew what they had to do. And it just amazes me that the rest of the NFL has not colluded on Howie Roseman and said, no, we're not trading with you. You have depending on where he lives or wherever that phone got issued, I don't know how they offer they distribute the telephone numbers, if it's your home or the office or anything. If I'm seeing 215-267-445, which is the newest of the 3 area codes in the 215 segment, or the 610-484, wherever that third one is in that area of the Philly suburbs, or if he's in New Jersey, he got a New Jersey number, 609-640-856. If I see one of those area codes, I almost just want to say, screw you, Howie. I'm not making a trade with you because you're going to fleece the shit out of us. But the thing is, the best thing I ever did was get pushed into that corner office when Chip Kelly was here, because guess what? If it wasn't for that, we probably wouldn't have 2 Super Bowls. Not because of Chip Kelly, but because Howie Roseman was like, I'll show you guys how to run a football team. And he has. So I just think, I'm just amazed that teams still trade with Howie Roseman. Trading on draft night, trading at the trade deadline, all that. So he's going to be The Eagles filled their needs. Now they just have to see, did they get the right guy? Because you can even get the right guy, and then boom, the guy's hurt and done for the year. But that's the way football is as well. But if you have the right guys in place here, and also you get Nolan Smith coming back, I did get that name right. Um, but I just think that we need to see how things are going to shake out. And also remember, the Eagles hardly ever lose after the bye. So keep that in mind for next Monday night when the Eagles play the Packers in Green Bay. So, um, so keep that in mind, and also, because I really like what the Eagles did there, and hopefully, we get more. We get another parade when we get another parade next year. So, um, now the Jets made two trades. Yeah, the goddamn Jets. They're building towards the future, and I'm guessing, even though some people will probably want Aaron Glenn fired at the end of the year, I think they have a plan in place finally. Now, having a plan in place and even enacting it according to plan can be two totally different things. But I think they have a plan here. So in one regard, Sauce Gardner got traded to Indianapolis today. Indy had been aggressively working the phones in recent weeks, trying to acquire a difference-making defensive player. So they got a blockbuster deal done today with Sauce Gardner before Tuesday's deadline. Um, the Jets received 2 first-round picks in 26 and 27, and embattled Colts receiver Adonai Mitchell in the deal. Indianapolis general manager said, Chris Ballard said, it's the deal they could not pass on. He was a player that we scouted heavily coming out of college, and there's a reason he was the 4th overall pick. He's a proven cornerback. His skill and competitive nature will elevate everyone's playing the defensive unit. We're thrilled he's a Colt. And I'm sure even though Sauce Gardner was a little shocked, he realized that football is a business. He now gets to play potentially, well, in the playoffs at least, and potentially play for a Super Bowl. The way Indianapolis is playing this year. And, a lot of people were like, what the hell happened with Pittsburgh and Indy? Well, first of all, I saw that Indy's like 1-16 over the last 20 or 30 years. I think I shared it, but I'm not sure. Let me see if I shared it. Oh, here it is. Okay, this is according to Steel City Recaps on X. And NFL Shots Fired on Facebook shared this picture. And the Colts are 1-16 in Pittsburgh since 1970. That's right. 1-16. Now, the fact that they've played each other 17 times in Pittsburgh since 1970 is amazing. Like, for example, Eagles and the Chiefs barely played, even though there were different conferences and stuff like that. And the way that they did the schedule with the 2018 league, you didn't get stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, if you count the Super Bowls as a particular season, that week 2 matchup the Eagles had was the fifth straight season they played Kansas City. The 3 times they played in the regular season, and then the 2 in between them were the Super Bowl years. So 5 straight years we've seen the Chiefs and the Eagles play, which is pretty hard to do with teams in opposite conferences. But with the way that they do things in the NFL now, that has a possibility of happening now. And, it's pretty good rivalry between conferences, even though you don't play each other more than once every 4 years unless that weird 17th game matchup comes about. Um, but 1-16. The thing is, I mean, like, for example, when the Jets finally beat the Eagles, it was like 11 or 12 wins in a row for the Eagles. Now, you knew the Jets were due when they won, was it last year or 2 years ago? 2 years ago. But despite that, you had all the, you have these quirks that happen all the time. It doesn't matter what the sport is. But the Jets are building towards the future. And once I mention who they're drafting, I mean the picks that they have and stuff like that, there's a plan in place, which is probably something is promising for a team that's had no promise since Rex Ryan was there. But later on today, the Jets weren't done, and they sent 3-time Pro Bowler defensive tackle Quinnen Williams to Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 second-round pick, a 27 first-round pick, and defensive tackle Maxie Smith. So New York now has 3 first-round picks in the 27 draft. Now, the question is, who was the last team to draft 3 first-rounders in the draft? The New York Jets in 2022. Crazy stat. But so Sauce Gardner gets a new start with the Colts team that holds the best record in the AFC, even though it's their same record as the Patriots and the Broncos. Gardner was done by a trade, according to his agent and brother, Alante Gardner. Gardner received a call from the Jets front office about 12:15, about 30 minutes before the news broke. He said he had no inkling of the looming trade. And, I think in some regards, it comes as a bigger shock when the rumors aren't really there. But on top of that, you're not asking to be traded. And you just had signed a new deal the year before or in the offseason. So the fact that happened was something that came out of the blue. And I think he knew that, hey, with my contract, I don't know if I can really get traded, because depending on how the salary cap gets hit, you could be looking at a lot of dead cap money. But the Jets did make a trade, and they got numerous picks now. So Alante Gardner said, I called Ahmad, which is Sauce Gardner's given first name. He said it was just a business decision. He understands that. They couldn't turn it down, and Ahmad deserves to be on a winning football team. I mean, every player deserves to be on a winning team. It's just that sometimes you're just not lucky enough to be on one. Whether it's bad luck with your team just sucks your whole career. I mean, you look at Mike Trout, for example, one of the top players in baseball over the last 20 years. He kept his loyalty to the Angels. Now he's injury prone and only has 3 playoff games to his resume. You're not, I mean, he's going to go into the Hall of Fame, but it's almost like he'd be an all-star, not all-star, Hall of Famer. It's almost like he'd be a Hall of Famer with an asterisk with the way that the playoffs are set up now. I mean, this was a lot more commonplace before 1969, before players retired in 69, before the 69 season, I should say, because you only had 2 teams that made the playoffs, and it was just the World Series. Because when you just had 2 teams, especially on the American League side, the Yankees were in the World Series almost every year. So as a result, Ted Williams never got to a World Series. You can insert names here. Never got to a World Series. I mean, Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, never got to a World Series. But now it's near impossible to never make a World Series and be in the league as long as Mike Trout is. And, Sauce Gardner, he will get that opportunity to play in the playoffs this year probably. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, was that game with Pittsburgh a fluky game? Or are other teams in the league going to copycat what they were doing? Because it doesn't matter what the sport is. These leagues are copycat leagues, and like for example, the Buffalo Bills, they rushed only 4 people the entire game against the Chiefs. Kind of remember that in Super Bowl 59. Yeah, that's it. You fill up all the lanes. If your defensive line is strong enough against their offensive line, you're going to get pressure on Mahomes, and that's what they did. So I just think Gardner's got a great opportunity here. So Gardner missed week 8 with a concussion. Aaron Glenn had said on Monday that he was completing the protocol and was expected to return to practice this week. Well, now he's not going. Now he's going to finish the protocol with the Indianapolis Colts. So they're hoping he can suit up for the team's Sunday game against Atlanta in Germany. Yeah, we got a German game this week. So we got another 9:30 a.m. game, and I got to get up extra early that day, don't I? But it'd be interesting to see what Atlanta does as well. But the Colts were more active. One of the more active teams in trade conversations in recent weeks. They approached multiple teams about trading for cornerbacks, but were rebuffed in each instance. Were they thinking it was Howie Roseman? We ain't trading with you, Howie. That's where you wish you had the old school landline phones where if you slam it real hard, you hear it go bang, and then on top of that, you hear bing. You remember those old TVs, those old telephones. Matter of fact, I had one till I got here, even though we never used it. I was like, all right, I'm pissed off. Bang. Even if I didn't have anything to listen to, even if I didn't have it connected, I still want to bang it. Bing. But so he goes to the Colts. Now, the Jets also trade Quinnen Williams for 2 draft picks. So the Cowboys gave up a 2026 second round pick, a 2027 first round pick, and they gave up defensive tackle Mazzie Smith to the Jets to complete the trade for Williams. The 2027 pick is going to be the better of the Cowboys' Cowboys 2 first round picks that year. So obviously, you can tell this is Jerry Jones, because I would want to give the Jets the worst draft pick of the 2. At least I would think. But then again, we don't know how the negotiations went. You probably heard Jerry Jones saying, "I want me some glory hole," and that's going to be a sound drop tune soon. And you can search on YouTube Jerry Jones glory hole, and you can watch that comment. But the irony is they made a second trade. The Cowboys acquired Logan Wilson from Cincinnati for a 2026 7-round pick. Now, here's the irony of that trade. The 31st ranked defense gets a defensive guy from the 32nd ranked defense. What? I mean, when somebody mentioned that, I had to laugh. But still, it's still funny that happened. But Cincinnati's a shit show. Dallas is a shit show. Jerry Jones still thinks he has a chance of winning the division. He doesn't. I mean, we can lock up the division right now. I mean, it could be locked up right before Thanksgiving when the Eagles go down to Dallas, because if the Eagles win in Dallas, they'll probably be 4 games up, which would be 4.5, because of the fact that they swept the season series. And, it'd be proving that tie was null and void for them, because, the thing is with ties in the NFL, as rare as they are, you really get some weird things happening with the standings. And sometimes you get a team that bumps up a spot in the ladder, in the rankings, in the seeding, because, well, we won 11 games, but it's actually 11.5, because, when you figure out the win percentage, it's 11.5 over 17. So I just think that, I think this, the way this looks right now, it looks like it's another Jerry Jones trade where you just shake your head. And if you're a Dallas fan, no, sorry about that, but if Dallas does this and it works, and so be it. But if I'm a Dallas fan, I'm not too thrilled about this. But I guess when you get fresh blood into the organization, but I don't know. But so now this was a continuation of trade discussions, apparently, because the Cowboys had discussions with the Jets regarding Williams and a potential trade for Micah Parsons, but they were told New York did not have the resources to sign Parsons to a mega contract. So whether that's the salary cap or just revenues coming in or anything like that, it's just that, they're smart enough in saying, hey, we would lose a ton of money this year. We can't do that. You gotta be smart with your money. And also, how is that affecting the salary cap? I'm sure that they said, all right, well, let me look at things. I'll call you back. And you call me, we can't do this because, salary cap and everything else. So, But like I said, they had 3 first-round picks. The last team to make 3 first-round picks in the same draft were the Jets 3 years ago. And that was the Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson draft. So in 2000, the Jets had 4 first-round picks. How many? There we go. So, but Williams wasn't happy with the direction of the Jets. When Aaron Rodgers was released, Williams tweeted, "Another rebuild year for me, I guess." And then he later apologized for that tweet. He told people close to him that he was frustrated by the losing. And yeah, if I'm in the league 7 years and you get a little bit of hope and you're on your 3rd or 4th coach, I think it's 4 coaches that he's on to now already, maybe even 5. Yeah, I want to taste winning before my career's over, because we know from how injuries pop up in the NFL, you could be out for the year, like Tucker Kraft, or your career could be over. You know, I mean, like Cam Scatterbo, leg got caught underneath him, and then the foot's going the other way instead of the way it should be going. You know, you never know. Your career can be over like that, especially in the NFL. But I can see him wanting to win and prove that, hey, I'm a good player in this league. I'm a great player in this league. It's just that I'm on a crap team. But now, how the Cowboys incorporate their 3 defensive tackles into Matt Eberflus's scheme will be of note. Cowboys are showing a 5-man front versus Arizona on Monday that shifted some positioning there. So run defense has been an issue for Cowboys for years. But Jerry Jones spoke of making deals to help the 2025 defense as well as for the future. It's the most significant trade the Cowboys made since 2018, when he gave up a first-round pick for Amari Cooper. But Cowboys are on a bye this week. They return to action on the 17th against the Raiders. They're scheduled to report to the Star, as they call their facility, on Tuesday, but will be off for the remainder of the week. I guess it's, hey, do I know you? Do I know you? Do I know you? Do I know you? Hey. So, but it'd be interesting to see what happens. But they're probably playing for a wild card at the most, because I think this division is pretty close over. But some people will say, well, what about 2 years ago? And trust me, I don't want to think about 2 years ago, when the Eagles started out 10-1 and they went 1 and whatever the rest of the way. So, but yeah, it is a interesting thing that, interesting trades here. And there were other trades around the league, but those were the most important ones that I saw today. Not sure if we have a quarterback controversy in Arizona, but Arizona is sticking with quarterback Jacoby Brissett as their starter for the Sunday game against the Seahawks in Seattle. The decision was announced less than 24 hours after Brissett led the Cardinals to their first win since mid-September, a 27-17 win over the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. Now, here's a stat that you wouldn't believe. And I hope this is true, because if it's not true, I'm going to have to comment in there, say, hey, you guys are totally fucking wrong. But there was a stat today that I saw on Facebook. The Arizona Cardinals are 3-10 on Monday Night Football. All 3 wins are against the Dallas Cowboys. How crazy is that? But so last night, Jonathan Gannon was asked if Brissett would continue to be the Arizona starter, or if Kyler Murray would return to the role once his foot injury, which sidelined against the Cowboys, were fully healed. Gannon had said Murray would get his job back. Pressed on why, Gannon said, "That's just how I feel." Now, you could read between the lines here today and say, well, maybe Jacoby gives us a better chance to win. Maybe there's something with that foot where it's not healing right or whatever. It could be many different things. It could be that, maybe there's a new Call of Duty coming out and Kyler Murray's got to play that game. But so the coach reversed course today, giving the nod to Brissett ahead of a short week against the Seattle Seahawks. But Murray hasn't played since October 5th. He had that foot injury where we thought it was when he took a snap to the head. We thought it was a concussion at first. Here it's the foot, apparently. But now he was limited in practice last week before they announced Brissett was going to be their starter. And they deactivated him for the game shortly before kickoff. So, but if he's hurt, he's hurt. Now, I don't know about you. Do you play around and say, well, he might have a chance of playing? You play mind games with the other team, especially with the team which, like Dallas last week, which you don't know what they're doing right now. But you don't want to do what Baltimore did, which saying, oh, yeah, he is going to play on Sunday. And then, oh, no, he's not. We messed up. Also cost you $100,000. But but sources told Adam Schefter the Cardinals have consulted with multiple doctors on his foot injury and have been told the timetables for recovery have been anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, with an increased chance of a setback until it's properly healed. So, are they playing safe? Are they riding a hot hand? Is this something, it could be many different things here. So it could be that maybe the injury is worse than we think. And unlike hockey where you can get away with upper body, lower body injury, with hockey you have to say, but not with hockey because I had the Flyers game on over there. With football, you have to say, well, guess what? I need to, you need to say what the injury is. Is he questionable? Is he probable? Even though they don't use that probable tag anymore. Is he doubtful? Is he definitely out? You don't get that too often anymore. You don't. That's something that you get in the NFL, but I think now you want to make sure that you don't have between your PR, have a conflict between your PR and the coaches, because that's what it sounded like it happened with Lamar Jackson, where, oh yeah, he's going to be playing, but he was with the scout team, and somewhere along the line they construed the scout team as in running for going to start on Sunday for whatever reason. But but they mentioned the stats here. And I'm going to say this when I mention this fact. I think that when you look at everything, um, I feel like in some regards, you have the you know, you have to look at why they threw these games. Was it because the other team's defense was shit, or was it because you're put in a situation where you got to pass every single down? And also, Arizona did lose their top running back earlier in the year, but in 3 starts of the season, Jacoby Brissett is averaging 256 passing yards per game and 7.7 yards per attempt while throwing for 6 touchdowns and 1 interception. Kyler Murray has averaged 170 passing yards and 6 yards per attempt in his 5 starts and threw 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But also, Kyler Murray is a mobile quarterback. He'll run a little bit more than Jacoby Brissett because he's more of a pocket passer. So you're looking at 2 different ways, and I think that they realize that with Jacoby Brissett, you got to throw the ball down the field, and also he played against Dallas, so he's padding his stats a little bit more. And also with those that, um, if you're a statistical person, and I even mentioned it at work when they're talking about our different metrics in our stats. I'm explaining that when you're at the beginning of the month, there's more variance in your numbers. So let's say, or even even better example is Major League Baseball or baseball in general. You know, you're 2 for 10 through you're 2 for 10 through 3 games. Then you go 4 for 4. Now you're 6 for 14. You're hitting what, 375? I think that figures out to. So you're going up and down a lot more early in the year, but when you get towards July, August, and September, you're basically losing like 0.0005 or something like that, or something where you make an out, your batting average doesn't look like it changed, even though it changed like that much. And but I think with everything that you see here with Jacoby Brissett, is this is the offense running better, or was last night more Dallas than it was Arizona? But you got to take that opportunity because also Seattle also plays a lot better on the road than they do at home under their new head coach. So, but I would say that they have to, um, maybe you ride the hot hand and you just say, hey, listen, Kyler, I'm going with him for this week. I don't want to ended up losing you for the entire year. Let us ride him for a couple of weeks. We can get your foot fully healthy and go from there. I mean, that's what I imagine. But um, but we'll see what happens there, and you know, I mean, it's possible that we could have a quarterback controversy in Arizona. Who knows? Um, so um, I made the mistake of pulling up Facebook there. Now I did see one thing today, and this wasn't planned. It's just a random. Um, I saw tonight that Phillies news that Harrison Bader opted out of his contract. It was a mutual option where both had to agree in order for him to come back. And do I think Harrison Bader wants to come back to Philadelphia? Yeah. But does he think he could probably get more money? Probably. So that's probably why he did that. So it's not like he's saying, "Oh, fuck Philly." It's all part of the it's um, all part of the whole game. And I would love to see him back here in Philly. I think that there was a little bit of a spark with the outfield last year. Now, can he do that over the course of 162 games? Only time will tell. But there was something different about him in the outfield. Maybe it's because the outfield was so blah last year between Kepler and Castellanos and Marsh. But I think he had a guy there that, if they bring him back, it would be a smart move. So, um, but I do want to mention one other thing here that I saw here, and this is a weird story here. Now, not sure if this, I'm not sure if this is true or not. I don't know if this is something that you just sit there and be like, huh? But Tom Brady, as you know, made all his money and probably making money off of his wife and divorce or whatever. Because she made more money than he did, only because he was taking less money as a quarterback, especially in New England, because he had Gisele's money. At least my opinion. But so Tom Brady said that his dog is a clone of his dog that passed away a couple of years ago. So the seven-time, whoever wrote this got that wrong, even though I still believe that Joe Montana is a better quarterback. So Brady said Tuesday in a statement from a company he is an investor in that his dog Junie is a clone of his late dog Lua. Now, I don't know how you test that for proof, but Brady made the announcement on the same day that Colossal Biosciences, a venture capital-backed biotech startup, made an acquisition of another animal cloning firm, Viagen Pets in Equine. Now, Colossal, which aims to fix extinction, quote unquote, is said to be valued at $10 billion, and this is their first major acquisition. But in some regards, and we'll get into some of the things here, if a species is extinct, in some regards, don't we want them to be extinct? I mean, I don't think we want to see dinosaurs all of a sudden roaming Northeast Philadelphia here, or roaming the United States because it's so highly populated. But Brady said in a statement released by the company, "I love my animals. They mean the world to me and my family. A few years ago, I worked with Colossal and leveraged their non-invasive cloning technology through a simple blood draw of our family's elderly dog before she passed." So it's that simple. The dog is a pit bull mix. Lua was adopted by Brady and his former wife, Gisele Bündchen. The couple divorced in 22, and then Lua died in December of 23. Now, Colossal uses genetic engineering and cloning with the goal of reviving extinct species. Do we want to bring some species back that are extinct? Now, if they do prove to come back and, or can fit in with everything else in this world, then maybe. But I don't think I want to see dinosaurs roaming the roaming around or anything like that. But I know I'm probably going a little too far with dinosaurs, but you get the idea. So in late 2024, Colossal said it used cloning and gene editing to birth three dire wolf pups. The dire wolf was previously extinct. Several groups, including the International Union for Conservation of Nature, disputes the claim. But even if this is true, is this something that we want to go down the road on? Are we going to be wondering if Tom Brady has CTE now? But if they want to do this, if you want to waste your money on that, I don't care. But do we want to deal with the ethical nature of this or anything like that? But I just think it's all. I think it's all a little weird, but I mean, I don't know how. I don't know how they deal. I don't know how people feel about that, but I know that they. I know that I think they were talking about this in horse racing too last week. I don't think that's a good idea either, but the thoroughbred industry, at least, they're like, well, there's only one way you can have a horse run, and that's doing the deed in the breeding shed, and then they give birth to the pony or horse or whatever you want to call it, and you go from there. Now, there are like in the quarter horse, I believe that there is artificial insemination, but if I'm totally wrong, then so be it. But I think I remember like there's artificial ways you can create a horse with quarter horses, but you can't run them as thoroughbreds. So, but no matter what you look at, um, I just feel like, you know, do we want to mess with science like that? But it just seems like we're messing with AI. We're messing with everything else, and it's only a matter of time before something really goes haywire here. But I'm not a that great of a scientific mind, so I don't know if this is. I really don't know the ethical nature of this, but whatever. So one final story here that I do want to mention here. Now, I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. You got Dollar Tree, you got Dollar General, you got Family Dollar. Well, Family Dollar isn't usually like the other two dollar stores, but the one thing is with the dollar stores is it used to be that the dollar stores used to be nothing over $1. Now, even though they sell the same cheap shit, it's all $1.25, $1.75. They'll sneak things in there that cost even more, you know. But and even Five Below, it's now 5.55 and below, or you have sections of the store where it's like $10. Like I got a new cord for my phone, it was $7. Just like whatever. But A lot of what they did was, you know, it's just that with these dollar stores, even though dollars in the title, it's now a it's now just a corporate entity name, whether it's Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Family Dollar, even um, even let's say um, even Five Below. They're all now corporate names as opposed to being just a dollar store. Even though there's people out there that will just call it the dollar store, it's like, well, what dollar store? It's called the dollar store. No, it's not, dumbass. But my question is, with this news story, does Liv change their name to Lexi? Here's why. Liv Golf, which is it's marketed itself as a faster pace alternative to the PGA Tour of 54-hole tournaments, LIV 54. They also have shotgun starts and team competition, is shifting to 72-hole events starting in 2026. LXXII tour? Now, the shotgun starts and the individual team competitions being played simultaneously will remain a part of the Live Golf League, but its tournaments will be one round longer and will generally start on Thursdays moving forward. Now, I don't watch Live Golf, and it's not because of, it's the Saudi public, what is it? The Saudi, what is it? The Saudi. I have it highlighted here, and I can't find it here. Damn it! The Saudi Public Trust or something. Saudi Public Investment Fund. That's what it is. It's not. It's brainwashing through sports and all that. It's not about political or anything like that. It's just that on top of everything else, life gets in the way. Too much shit on TV to watch if you're home to watch TV. You can only consume so much stuff over a day or at one sitting. You can only consume so much stuff. And until last year, it's like, well, what channel CW on my cable box, that sort of thing. So you have to deal with all of that. So Scott O'Neill, who's the CEO of the Golf League, said, the most successful leagues around the world continue to innovate and evolve their product, and as an emerging league, we are no different. Live Golf will always have an eye towards progress that acts in the best interest of Live Golf and the best interest of the sport. Well, what's the best interest of the sport? It's getting to be a part of the golf rankings, because the top players in Live who took bags of cash from the Saudis, they're losing rankings week after week because the Live tournaments are not recognized by the world ranking system that golf has. So they're seeking inclusion in the official World Golf Rankings to help its golfers obtain pathways to major championships. The OWGR denied its application in October 2023 in its first season competition, And one of the main reasons why was because they were only playing 54 holes. Other reasons were because the league is a closed shop and the individual results may be compromised by the team competition. All golfers' scores count in team standings now. Before it was, I think, the bottom person or bottom two didn't count toward the team. So Live Golf reapplied in July. Now, I don't know if they were rejected or they're just saying, well, yeah, we'll just sit on this for a little bit and whatever. But so Bryson DeChambeau, who's a Live golfer, said, everyone wants to see the best players in the world competing against each other, especially in majors, and for the good of the game, we need a path forward. So, you're going to do what you can to get yourself recognized, and you want to get your golfers back in the rankings, and you want to get more of the Live crew in those tournaments, because unless you've got an exemption, whether it's winning a tournament or something like that, you're not getting into these tourneys in the PGA. But so another thing that they said here was, by moving to 72 holes, Live Golf is taking a proactive step to align with the historical format recognized globally. This is a fantastic evolution of the Live Golf product, showing how our league listens and adapts to creative and best possible experience. Maybe not. I don't know. I think that they're looking for the chance to get their guys ranked. That's what it is. Now, the shotgun starts and everything else, I'm sure they can figure out, even with larger fields, even because, you're looking at small tournaments every week. But the first tournament will be March 4th to the 7th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But yeah, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia is trying to get into American sports. Some will call it brainwashing, some will do whatever. It is what it is. So, but I just think that, whether you like it or not, I mean, I couldn't care less because, it's just that it's not on when I'm on. I mean, it's just that there's so much sports to consume. And on top of that, you have other things you want to watch as well. And, sometimes I want to listen to music. Sometimes I want to listen to podcasts. There's just so much stuff. There's so much stuff that you have that, you just can't do everything else. So, but yeah, so I do want to remind everybody, also eligible will be live on Saturday, 10 a.m. I'm leaning towards New York, and they got a bunch of stake races on Saturday. I may throw in the race from Churchill because the one thing is with the Daily Racing Form site, it appears that in some regards it doesn't always there's always something that happens where they're adding things last minute. There was one earlier in the year where I thought a race was running on a certain day. It wasn't. Like for example here. I mean, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to go to this screen here. So let's go back to here. Let's pull up this. So this is what I look at when I'm looking ahead and looking at, okay, well, what do I want to look at here? What's going to be best for me? So up until a couple of days ago, I don't think the Churchill Downs races were there. CD, that's the code for Churchill Downs. DED is Delta Downs. That's in Louisiana. I know they were not there. Delmar, that wasn't there. Laurel definitely wasn't there because when I was looking at this a couple of days ago, it was Aqueduct and Woodbine. But now I have options. It's just that they're not, and maybe it's just the fact that maybe it's just the fact that they're updating this late, and maybe they're getting the information late, and maybe it's just you're pulling things up, and it's like, oh shit, they got 3 stake races at Laurel today. Well, how did that slip through the cracks? That's what I want to know. So, and then you go down here, like they added this race here, the Chaluki, because that wasn't there. The Desi Arnaz wasn't there. So some of these things got filled in late. And, you know, I'm not complaining too much, but it is a bit frustrating when I go here and I say, oh, well, probably going to get Aqueduct for a race. Well, let's go back over here and let's look at the entries here. So this is one of the ways you can get the free race of the day. Now, what I would recommend, and this is part of the if it's free, it's for me mantra that I have, especially when I'm doing also eligible. Like Saturday's race is Churchill. So I clicked on that link. We'll switch tabs here. We'll share this one. This is the race that they wanted that they gave as the race of the day at on Daily Racing Form. And boom, you go there, and you don't have the numbers here on the side because they haven't made the morning line odds yet available. So, so basically, it's just that they threw me a curveball, and but we're still going to do Aqueduct on Saturday. It's just that Saturday, the presentation is going to be a little bit different because as long as the program is posted early enough on Friday, with the source that I use, I can look at everything and make an informed case in these 4 races of what I like. And if it's something that can help you guys out, because the one thing I said this to I think I said in the article today, I said, I'm going to be mentioning more than just the horse that I'm going to pick in the race. And that's part of the plan, because you're not going to agree with everything that I say on a particular horse. Like, for example, today's race, I said, oh, this 2 horse is going to go for the lead. There is nobody that really wants the lead, and it's going to go all the way around the track in front. Well, guess what? He stalked behind a couple of speed horses that decided, oh, I'm going to show speed today. And my horse came out of nowhere and won the race. Well, not nowhere, but was stalking behind the pace and won. So, and that's the thing with why I say that horse racing is one big logic puzzle, because you can read things exactly right. It's just that your horse doesn't win. Or you read the race totally wrong, like I did today, but the horse won. But whether you read the program totally wrong, or you read it to a T and the race happened exactly as you thought, as long as your horse wins, it doesn't matter what your logic is. The only thing that they care about is, okay, well, if you have a paper ticket, give me the ticket so I can run it through so you can get your money. Or if you play it online, okay, well, 6.5 to win on the 2. Okay, 620. And it figures it out for you. $15, I guess, whatever. But you get the idea. So that's why I try to give you a couple of different horses that are on there. Even beyond the four that I usually do, because of the fact that sometimes, even with like horses that have no shot, it's like, well, these two horses, they only know one way to run. They're going to go for the lead, and they're going to get burnt out, kind of like the Breeders' Cup Classic. Other than that no hope horse that was in the race, nobody was going for the lead. That horse went for the lead, but it wasn't too far away. And he just, that horse dropped anchor. Everybody went around him. And then Forever Young was close enough to the pace that he assumed the lead, and he won on a track that was favoring speed. So, I mean, you can read races totally wrong and you win. And you can read the race perfectly and you're off. Something happens to the horse, even if it's something as innocent as just tiring, or you have a horse that breaks a leg, unfortunately. Even that's the goal is to get zero breakdowns, but it's still going to happen. Even and the one thing is, even horses that are not in horse racing at all, horses do get injured. So, but I digress with that. So that's going to be it with this show. I'll be live on Thursday at 10 p.m. Jesus Christ, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Also eligible Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. I think what we'll do is we'll do Aqueduct and that one Churchill race, because we can at least get that one race from Churchill, use the Daily Racing Form site, and also use the Aqueduct races, because one thing is, especially since Daily Racing Form isn't sponsoring me, Equibase isn't sponsoring me, or doing anything with Bleacher Brothers. If one of those companies are out there, hey, hit me up. And it's just that maybe, oh, you want me to promote your things? Okay, well, yeah, I'd be more than happy to promote, but let's work out a deal here. But like the one thing I will show you on Saturday more than likely is how the programs for Aqueduct are going to look a little bit different, beside being the fact that it's a PDF file that I'll be downloading. You'll be seeing little quirks in there that you'll see with this one program as opposed to the Daily Racing Form. And everybody has their own opinions and everything, and sometimes you just adjust to the different programs that you have. But anyway, so that's going to be it. And we'll be live on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and who knows what we'll talk about then. So, but that's going to be it for now. Do appreciate everybody. And let's do it live Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Maybe I'll have some football picks this week, or maybe I don't, because I went 5-0 this week on my football picks in the football contest I'm in. So I kind of don't want to do it, because if I do end up doing it, then I may jinx myself. But I don't. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Like, you don't want to mess with a winning streak. It's all these different things that they have that you end up doing. So, but yeah, so we'll do it live on Thursday. And let me get this spammer out of here. And let's do it on Thursday again. I'm off tomorrow. Bleacher Brothers show is on 7 o'clock, and we have all our shows here. So follow Bleacher Brothers on Facebook, on YouTube, all that. Um, and let's do it Thursday. So hope everybody has a great night.